For years, Lady Louise Windsor has been one of the most understated yet captivating figures within the British royal family, a quiet symbol of grace, intelligence, and humility. Now, as Prince William's influence grows and the monarchy begins to prepare for its next era, speculation has emerged that Lady Louise could soon play a far more prominent role, one that may even come with a new title, perhaps Duchess Louise Windsor. Born on the 8th of November 2003, Lady Louise Alice Elizabeth Mary Mountbatten Windsor entered the world under extraordinary circumstances. Her mother, then Countess of Wessex, suffered a placental abruption and underwent an emergency caesarean section at Frimley Park Hospital, while her father, Prince Edward, was abroad in Mauritius on an official engagement. The early birth sent shockwaves through the royal family. Prince Edward rushed home to meet his fragile newborn daughter, whose arrival was as dramatic as it was miraculous. Despite her difficult start, Lady Louise's childhood unfolded in an atmosphere of dignity, affection, and grounded simplicity. Raised away from the blinding glare of royal publicity, she grew up with an uncommon sense of modesty. Her parents, Edward and Sophie, prioritized normalcy, ensuring that Louise and her younger brother, James, Earl of Wessex, were allowed to experience as ordinary a life as possible within the boundaries of royalty. Louise attended St. George's School in Windsor, before continuing her education at St. Mary's School, Ascot, and later St. Andrew's University, the same institution where her cousin, Prince William, famously met Katemiddleton Middleton. It's a detail that hasn't gone unnoticed among royal watchers, who see in her a quiet echo of the future queen's poised intellectual energy. Among her many influences, none shaped Lady Louise more profoundly than her late grandfather, Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh. Of all his grandchildren, Louise was widely regarded as his favorite, a young woman who shared his passion for carriage driving, the sport that had long defined his later years. Their bond was deep and sincere. When Prince Philip passed away in 2021, it was Louise who inherited his ponies and carriage, a gesture that spoke volumes about the affection and trust between them. Her calm demeanor during public appearances, particularly at the Platinum Jubilee celebrations and during the state funeral of Queen Elizabeth II, impressed observers around the world. During the poignant vigil held by the Queen's grandchildren, Louise's composure revealed not only her emotional strength, but also her readiness to embrace the quiet responsibility that comes with royal blood. In 2022, Lady Louise made headlines for a reason. Entirely her own, she became the first royal granddaughter of Queen Elizabeth II to take on a summer job, working at a local garden center. The move was widely praised as a refreshing act of humility. For many, it showed that she was following in the footsteps of her parents, who have always modeled restraint, modesty, and duty over privilege. Her latest endeavor, however, marked an even bolder step. In 2024, Lady Louise joined the University Officer Training Corps, a branch of the British Army that develops leadership and discipline among university students. For a young royal, this was a striking decision. It suggested a deep personal commitment to service, perhaps even the potential for a future within the military sphere, an area typically reserved for working members of the royal family. Those close to the palace viewed the move as a sign of her growing maturity and a signal that she could soon play a more defined role in public life. King Charles III's reign has been one of transition, rebalancing royal roles, tightening the public image of the monarchy, and preparing for the inevitable ascension of Prince William. Within that evolving structure, William has reportedly begun identifying younger family members who can support him and Catherine, the Princess of Wales, in their long-term vision for a streamlined, modern monarchy. Among these, Lady Louise Windsor stands out. At 21, she represents both continuity and renewal, a granddaughter of Queen Elizabeth II who carries the legacy of her grandfather Prince Philip, but who also embodies the grounded, relatable energy that William and Catherine wish to cultivate in the next royal generation. Royal experts believe that under King William's reign, Lady Louise could be called upon to assume a more active role, potentially even being granted a new title in recognition of her service and lineage. As the only daughter of the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh and a direct granddaughter of the late Queen, she is uniquely positioned within the hierarchy to become one of the monarchy's rising stars. At present, Lady Louise holds no royal style beyond her courtesy title. When she turned 18, she was given the option to adopt the title of Her Royal Highness Princess Louise of Edinburgh, a right granted by virtue of being a monarch's granddaughter in the male line. However, following her parents' preference for a low-key upbringing, she chose not to use it. But times may be changing. With her brother James inheriting the Earl of Wessex title and the family now elevated to Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, Louise's future in the royal hierarchy is once again under quiet review. Rumors suggest that Prince William, when he becomes king, may consider granting her a ducal title in her own right, recognizing her as Duchess Louise Windsor, both as a tribute to her grandparents' legacy and as a nod to her increasing public role. Such a move would not only honor her lineage, but also solidify her as a key figure among the next generation of royals, standing alongside Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis as representatives of the monarchy's enduring relevance. To understand Louise's quiet strength, one must look to her mother, Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh, whose own path within the royal family has been marked by discretion, endurance, and deep respect. Since her marriage to Prince Edward in 1999, Sophie has become one of the most trusted figures within the royal household. She was among Queen Elizabeth II's closest confidants, often accompanying her to Windsor Castle for private afternoon teas and long discussions about family, duty, and the evolving world. Unlike many royals, Sophie has rarely been at the center of controversy. Her reputation for kindness and steady work ethic has earned her admiration from both the public and her peers. She represents the quiet backbone of the royal family, and Louise, who mirrors her mother's natural grace, appears ready to follow in those same footsteps. The story of her parents' titles, however, carries its own fascinating twist. Originally, when Edward married Sophie, he was expected to become Duke of Cambridge, the historic title later granted to Prince William. But Edward, inspired by the film Shakespeare in Love, reportedly requested the lesser-known title Earl of Wessex, a decision approved by Queen Elizabeth II. It was a modest choice, reflecting Edward's preference for a lower profile within the royal hierarchy. Only decades later, in 2023, did Charles finally grant his youngest brother and sister-in-law the prestigious title Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh in honor of their late father's legacy. That belated recognition reshaped their family's standing and, by extension, Louise's future. With the passing of Queen Elizabeth II, the monarchy entered a new era of recalibration. Titles, estates, and private inheritances were quietly redistributed in ways designed to preserve the institution's long-term stability. While public fascination centered on who would inherit Balmoral, Sandringham, or the Queen's jewelry collection, royal historians understood that the true inheritance was something far greater, a renewed sense of responsibility and continuity. For Lady Louise, this inheritance is both literal and symbolic. She carries the discipline of her grandfather, the humility of her parents, and the quiet promise of a new kind of royal woman, one who can embody tradition while embracing modern life. Under Prince William's reign, the monarchy is expected to be smaller but more focused, emphasizing purpose over privilege, visibility over grandeur. And within that vision, Lady Louise may soon step out from the background, her composure and intellect becoming invaluable assets to the royal cause. Nothing is confirmed, of course. The monarchy thrives on discretion, and such titles are bestowed not out of favoritism but in accordance with duty and trust. Yet if Prince William truly wishes to balance royal tradition with modern relevance, few candidates are as fitting as Lady Louise Windsor, the poised, unassuming granddaughter who has quietly prepared all her life for a role she never demanded but may now be ready to accept. Whether or not she ever becomes Duchess Louise Windsor, one thing is certain: her future under King William's reign will be watched closely. In her quiet grace lies the promise of the monarchy's next chapter, a generation of royals defined not by scandal or spectacle, but by service, humility, and a steadfast sense of purpose.